So upon running this a little bit, I had an oil leak, and I discovered that it was resulted by carelessness and reassembly. I did work on it over a long period of time, and when you get away from a project and get back to it, it's really hard to remember where you were, what you did, and where you put the parts. So I was, after riding a little bit, I had an oil leak, and it was coming off the top of the engine, and I looked at it, and I found that I had forgotten to put the, actually it's in there now, but I had forgotten to put the timing tension or securing bolt in, and what and it's actually not in there. It doesn't screw in, but that's kind of the point here. Is this is what it looks like. I happen to have an extra one, and it goes into the top. It goes through the block, and then it has a little gasket washer that seals against the block to keep oil from coming out. And so what I'm getting right now is oil is coming out, just kind of spitting out because the hardware was missing. I looked around to see if I could find the hardware. I didn't have it. I couldn't find it. I found several that would look like they would work, but I went ahead and decided to order the parts. It was like $2 or $3 from Partzilla or someplace. And so what I have to do is I have to pull the valve cover off and grab the piece, and then make sure that I could put the bolt in. And the reason for that is because I'm trying it now, and it's really just kind of hitting and pushing back, and so it's not really it's not threading in easily. And so I think I just need to be able to visually see it to thread it in properly. So with that, I guess what I'm going to do is go ahead and undo the tension on all the valves, pull the valve cover off. The carbs will come off because I need to be doing something to those. I think I want to recheck all the float levels, and then I will put it back together because it really is ready to ride, except for that. I just got a master cylinder in today, and I have to admit I bought the Chinese copy, but it's holding, and it seems to be working, and so it's bled and it's ready to go. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'll film my work as I go and share it with you when I'm done. One thing that's kind of hard to do is to put a bike together and get it all ready to ride, and then realize you've got to go back and do some rework. But it really, one of the things I like about motorcycles is that there are a finite number of parts, and there really isn't that much work. It's just a matter of starting and continuing until you get to the point you need to be, and then stopping, and then going back, and then just trying to stay organized as you're taking things apart. This lift is still new to me, and so I'm always worried about knocking the bike over. I probably need to make some modifications to it so that it holds the bike a little bit sturdier, and that's why I kind of tied down the back of it. Here I'm working to get the carbs out, and even without the rubber boots on, it's kind of a pain. All right, I kind of stopped filming while I was pulling the valve cover off. It requires loosening all the fasteners or not the fasteners, the adjusters, so that you don't have any tension on the valve cover as you're loosening it, and then you don't get any kind of warping or anything like that. At least that's the common belief, and I follow that. I don't want to have to do that again. I happen to have another valve cover in the back, and so I went ahead and pulled that out. That one had a broken ear on one of the corners, but I went ahead and used that to hold the bolts where they go, because it's a pain in the butt trying to figure out the right lengths and everything. You know, one of the hazards of working on a bike over time and then forgetting what you did or didn't do, I found some errors where I thought I'd been really meticulous. I had inadequate torque on these two in here, which are in the center, but the other two are fine. I think maybe I just worked on it on different days, and then I'm missing a fastener down here. So it probably does always do you good just to go back and look at your work. I'm hoping I didn't miss anything inside, but I don't think I did. So that's kind of where we're at. I'm getting ready to pull this valve cover off. I've got it loose. Actually, I'm just going to shut you off because I don't want to break something or screw something up or lose something. So I'll just do that, focus on that, and then bring you back in a bit. All right, I went ahead and pulled the cover off. Everything looks good in there. It was clean, and all the gaskets are still in place. The tensioner, just from looking at it, looked like it was moved over to one side. I went ahead and tried to get the bolt that was missing out, and I was having trouble with that, and I finally put something in there to locate it, like a pointy piece, and then I was able to maneuver it to kind of center it, and then I wedged screwdrivers in there to hold it, and then I went ahead and, but one thing I did discover was that my old washer was still on there, so I would have had double washers if I had been able to get it on there, and then I might have had a leak. So I went ahead and that popped off while I was working on it, so that was my clue. Anyway, I got it secured. In the meantime, I had loosened off the tensioner down below, and that tensioner, because I wanted it to be able to move around if I needed to move it around. And so I went ahead on that tensioner, and I reinstalled the lock nut. But before I did, I went ahead and turned it to the clockwise direction, about 1/8 of a turn, and tightened it down. And what that does is, just having another one here, you can kind of see how they work. But they basically are sitting inside the engine like that, and then that's compressed, and then once you have it running, you can loosen it, and it'll unscrew, and it'll lock to wherever it's got the right amount of tension against the chain. It's always supposed to be touching it. And then if you look at the direction here, I mean, you're not really getting much of a turn on it. You can see it's not quite level there, and then there it's just past level. And so if you take a screwdriver and turn it in that direction and lock it down, then you'll have slack. And then when you start the bike and you loosen the lock nut, it will expand out, and then you tighten it down. It'll expand out only as far as it needs to, and then you'll be fine. So I'll probably button this back up. I've just got to make sure I don't get any dirt in there. That was easier than I thought, other than all the disassembly, and that's where we're at for now. I'm probably going to have to walk away from this for a few days due to a work trip, but I will be back on it as soon as I get back. All right, I got the valve cover back on. I just need to do a valve adjustment. I've got to do some work on the carburetors before I can get it back together, so I'm going to do a video on that next. I'm going to go ahead and end this here and post it up so that I've got something on there for you guys. And I'll go ahead and do something on the carburetors, and then hopefully be able to take this on its first big ride. So thank you for watching.